This chart shows the reality of global AI funding in 2025. The United States poured $285.9 billion in private capital into artificial intelligence, while China recorded just $12.4 billion. For years, Silicon Valley operated on the assumption that this overwhelming financial advantage guaranteed a permanent American technological lead. But data from the Stanford AI Index shows that financial edge vanishing. In May 2023, the performance gap between top US and Chinese models was a massive 31 percentage points. By March 2026, the lines have converged. The models are now in a statistical dead heat. Chinese laboratories reached this parity despite strict hardware export controls. They bypassed the chip shortage by using a training method called Group Relative Policy Optimization, or GRPO. This approach trains an AI's reasoning capabilities without massive labeled datasets, drastically reducing the computing power required to build frontier intelligence. While American developers prioritized closed, proprietary systems, Chinese firms weaponized open-source architectures. By releasing powerful models with open weights, they have driven rapid adoption across the global south, with Chinese models routinely outperforming American frameworks on platforms like Hugging Face. The software race is no longer an American monopoly. Because foundational code has become commoditized, the competition is now spilling out of the cloud and into the real world. This diagram maps the transition to agentic AI. While standard generative AI requires a human to prompt each step, an agentic system is autonomous. It accepts a high-level goal, breaks it into subtasks, navigates software environments, and iterates on failures until the objective is achieved. In 2026, this technology became the primary battleground. On the left, OpenAI's operator functions largely through browser interactions. On the right, a Chinese startup called Butterfly Effect launched Manus. Unlike a chatbot, Manus operates inside a dedicated cloud-based virtual computer with its own file system and terminal. Manus reached $100 million in annual recurring revenue in just 8 months. In benchmark testing for real-world problem-solving, it outperformed OpenAI systems by 10 percentage points, demonstrating a superior ability to execute complex software engineering and data tasks asynchronously. To reach this level of sophistication, Chinese firms are utilizing model distillation. They use reseller networks to ping American APIs millions of times, harvesting the output to train smaller, more efficient models. This allows them to sidestep billions in R&D costs, creating a legal void that Western intellectual property laws were never designed to govern. Superior capital no longer guarantees superior performance. The winner is now determined by who can successfully orchestrate and defend these autonomous agents across international borders. In late 2025, Meta moved to acquire Manus for $2 billion. The strategy was to bypass their own development delays and integrate Chinese agentic superiority directly into the global Meta advertising ecosystem. The deal was built on a tactic called Singapore washing. The Manus founders shut down their Beijing offices and reincorporated in Singapore, attempting to bypass both American investment restrictions and Chinese technology export controls. The capital had already transferred when China's NDRC formally blocked the acquisition. They argued the core algorithms were developed on Chinese soil, subjecting them to state control regardless of where the company was registered. The deal was unwound, and the founders were placed under exit bans to keep them in Beijing. The United States has implemented its own version of this control through the TikTok USDS joint venture. By forcing ByteDance to accept a minority stake, the U.S. mandated that all data storage and algorithm training happen on American soil, overseen by independent cloud stewards at Oracle. A corporation's legal domicile no longer protects its source code. Sovereign states have successfully retrofitted physical borders onto the modern internet. As software is restricted by borders, the hardware is hitting the limits of the electrical grid. Continuous AI inference requires gigawatt-scale power. New data centers, like xAI's campus in Mississippi, now demand as much electricity as a major city. Thermodynamics has replaced silicon as the primary constraint on scaling artificial intelligence. The massive power density of modern server racks creates concentrated thermal stress and harmonic distortion that standard electrical grids were not designed to manage. This has created a manufacturing crisis. High-voltage power transformers now have lead times of 18 to 48 months. While tech companies can build the shell of a data center in months, They are left waiting years for the utility companies to upgrade the grid and turn the power on. The aging, fragmented U.S. power grid is struggling to accommodate these load requests. Meanwhile, China treats AI infrastructure as a unified state utility, pledging 5 trillion yuan to integrate intelligent dispatch systems that route power directly to its data centers. You can write the best code in the world, but if the local utility grid cannot handle the thermal load, your AI does not exist. The human capital required to build these systems is also shifting. Since 2017, the number of top-tier AI researchers choosing to relocate to the United States has plummeted by 89%. American laboratories still offer the highest salaries, but that advantage is being offset by restrictive immigration policies, high living costs, and geopolitical friction. These researchers are instead moving to middle powers that use a Switzerland strategy. Switzerland now ranks first in AI talent density, using its neutrality to attract global experts who want to build sovereign AI stacks without the friction of the US-China tech war. The UAE and Singapore are following a similar path, offering zero income tax environments and massive state investments in digital infrastructure. 1 in 3 AI experts who migrated in the last year moved to the Middle East, establishing a new destination for displaced talent. Strategic advantage now belongs to whichever nation masters the terrestrial logistics of power, people, and sovereign compliance. Successful AI deployment in the late 2020s is as much about heavy industry as it is about code.